My name is Ocean, and in this video, I am going to talk about leadership, communication, and workplace culture. I'm going to be answering the 4 video prompt questions about employee feedback, company change, diversity, power distance. I'm also going to be including some personal experiences of my own opinions based on what I've learned in the past. So yes, first question. Why is it important for leaders to seek employee feedback? And what should they do with it? Well, I think it's really important for leaders to ask employees for their feedback because employees are the ones that are actually going through, the work and doing stuff on day-to-day basis and working with customers. Managers might think everything is running smoothly, but employees usually see problems before the leaders do, and they usually see problems that leaders might actually never see, and they don't notice. Like, for example, if a company has a system that's slow or confusing, employees deal with that every day. If no one asks them for feedback, the problem will probably just continue. And over time, that can lead to frustration, lower productivity, and even employees quitting. From my own experience, I've seen situations where employees had good ideas, but no one asked them, so nothing changed. And it can feel frustrating when you know something could be improved, but you don't have the voice. But I think the most important part is what leaders do after they get the feedback. Like, I worked somewhere where they had a board, and some of the employees wrote down some things that they thought could be changed, and some of them are actually from customers suggesting things. And I thought that was a good idea, but I will say that the managers never addressed it to all the employees and said, hey, everybody, you're welcome to write on this board if you have any suggestions. It was kind of like some of the favorited employees maybe that already knew about it that wrote stuff on there. So I definitely felt like it could have been improved, but at least they tried. If a manager asks for feedback and then ignores it, that actually can make things worse. Employees will feel like their opinions don't really matter, they're not valued, or they're even being ignored, and they may stop speaking up completely. Because who would want to help somebody that doesn't really want to be helped? Leaders should take feedback seriously, and they should look for patterns. They should make change when it's possible. And even if they can't fix a problem, they should communicate that with people and tell them why. If a company can't afford to change something right away, they should explain that instead of just staying silent and acting like nothing happened, because that definitely just makes people feel unimportant. So yeah, feedback is important, not just for improving the company, but also for building trust with employees and leaders, and so everybody can feel like they matter and like they're in a great environment. Question 2. Why should employees understand company change, and is it actually followed in real life? I think this is a very important one. I do think it's very important for employees to understand why a company is making changes. When people don't understand what's going on, they usually feel confused, and they might feel stressed, or they might even be worried about their job. I definitely have an example of that in real life, where somewhere I was working changed their hours of operations, and they didn't tell anybody. They just changed it on the schedule. So I assumed I was getting laid off, or they were cutting my hours, when in reality I was usually working during the day, and that's when I said I was available. So yeah, I was used to working from 11 to 4, and I guess they changed their hours on the weekdays to 4 to 9, and only on the weekends were they open from 11 to 4. So I only had 2 days on the weekends on my schedule out of nowhere, and nobody said anything to me or communicated that it was just the company changing their hours. I thought it was something I did wrong, or I thought I was being fired, so I immediately panicked, started searching on Indeed for a new job. When it could have been communicated to me in a way that was more respectful, and I could have either looked for a new job or accommodated my schedule to fit theirs. Either way, I don't think that was right to just, not communicate anything and just throw it on the schedule one week out of nowhere and not communicate with people. I don't think that was right at all. I was definitely stressed. I was definitely scared, and I definitely felt disrespected. Definitely felt like I was not respected. So, yeah. We should definitely, if there's schedule changes, policy changes, system changes, if you're not going to explain why employees might assume something negative is happening, like a layoff or a problem in the company, and that can create, fear and, people being upset. When leaders explain the reason behind changes, it can definitely help employees feel more secure and involved. People are definitely more likely to accept change if they understand the purpose behind it. It also helps them adjust faster and they know what to expect, not just surprising them. So yes, communication during change shows respect. It tells employees you are part of this process instead of just being told what to do. But yeah, I don't think this is always followed in the real world. A lot of companies make changes quickly without explaining much, like I just said. And yeah, sometimes managers might just assume employees don't need to know details, or they just don't take the time to communicate properly. So yeah, I definitely think some companies need to work on that. Like I said, I've personally been in a situation where that was a problem, and I started guessing what was happening when I could have just been told what was going on, and I wouldn't have to panic. So yeah, I think that definitely contributed to one of the reasons why I left that company. I just wish I would have been honest and just told me what was going on. So yeah, a lot of companies probably struggle with it, and I think that it would make teamwork a lot better and employees a lot happier if they are communicated with on decisions. So question 3, is a communal culture compatible with diversity? Yes, I think communal culture and diversity can be absolutely working together, but only if it's done right. A communal culture means people feel connected, supported, and they feel like they're part of a team. And diversity means having different backgrounds, opinions, and perspectives. At first, some people might think these two ideas might conflict with each other, but I actually think diversity can make a community stronger. Excuse me. When people from different backgrounds work together, they can bring different ideas and experiences, and everybody can learn from each other, and it can actually be really beautiful. And it can lead to a better problem-solving system and more creativity. A stronger community doesn't mean everyone is the same. It definitely means people respect each other and support their differences, for sure. But a problem happens when a community tries to create a community by expecting everybody to think or act the same. That can actually go against diversity. If employees feel like they have to hide their differences, or they have to fit in, or they have to change themselves to work somewhere, then the culture isn't really, inclusive. In my opinion, a good communal culture should celebrate differences, and everybody should feel included, and they shouldn't be ignored or, looked at weird because they're different. leaders should encourage people to have open conversations and to make sure everybody feels included. Like simple things like respecting different opinions, recognizing cultural differences, and making everyone feel heard can make a big difference. So yes, I think communal culture and diversity are compatible, but only when inclusion and respect are real, not just something the company says. I'm trying to think of something where I might have had something like that happen. I mean, I know I've worked somewhere where maybe somebody was from a different country, and maybe they had a holiday or they needed to take off time, and I think they had taken off a month for some event, and the company was very understanding about that for them. But I do think that that's an important thing to do, but at the same time we need to be equally respectful to people, because there might have been another time where somebody needed to take off because they were sick. I don't think they were as understanding, but like I said, people should all be treated the same, regardless of if you're taking off for cultural reasons or being sick. People should be understanding if they value their employees at the end of the day. So everybody should be treated the same. We're all a community. We all need to respect each other. Question 4. Do cultures with different governments have different power distances in businesses? Yes, I do think there is a connection between a country's government and how power distance shows up in businesses. Power distance is basically how comfortable people are with authority, and in some cultures, people accept the leaders that have more power and don't question them, and other people expect more equality and open communications. In countries with more strict centralized governments, people may expect more authority and maybe more used to following rules without questioning it. This can carry over into the workplace, where employees are less likely to challenge managers or share their opinions. But in other cases, in other countries with more democratic systems, people are often encouraged to speak up and share their ideas in those workplaces. So employees may feel more comfortable giving feedback or questioning decisions. I definitely feel that way. But yeah, for example, in a high power distance workplace, a manager might make decisions without asking for input, and employees will accept it. In a lower power distance workplace, employees might expect to be involved in decisions and share their opinions openly. And if that doesn't happen, they'll probably feel like something is off, or like they could go find a better job where they are included on, because that is an option in that country or that community. But yeah, I think it matters because it affects communication, teamwork, leadership styles. I do think leaders need to understand cultural differences, especially in global companies. From my perspective, neither style is completely right or wrong, but I do think it depends on the situation. But understanding these differences can definitely help leaders manage teams more effectively. I mean, I do believe that having your opinion heard will definitely help a company be happier and overall, I feel like the customers will be happier and the employees and even the leaders will be more comfortable. I do believe that feedback helps everybody involved. I don't think leaders always have to take all of the feedback and change things. I think they should just take what applies to them and change what they feel could help them out. Obviously, we're not going to change, things that, we feel don't need to be changed or that can't be changed. It's just an option. Feedback is just for you to decide what to do with. You don't, it's for the leaders to decide at the end of the day. It's, employees are just trying to help, and, nobody has to do anything. But yeah, I do think that feedback is helpful, and I do think that cultures with different governments definitely play a role in the power distance, in businesses, for sure. But yeah, in conclusion, leadership, communication, all of that in the workplace culture all play a huge role in how organizations function. And employee feedback, clear communication, diversity, and understanding cultural differences are all important for building a strong, successful workplace. Yes, I definitely feel like employee feedback, communication, diversity, all of that is very important, and we should always be taking all of that into consideration. So thank you for watching, and I hope I did a okay job.